Hello, Queens. Welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to be bringing this episode to you. Why do you keep attracting the same man but in different bodies? If you keep on seeing a particular pattern occur in different relationships, this is not random. There is a very good reason why this happens. So, today I'm going to be talking about why we repeat patterns in our relationships, three common patterns that I see in women, how you can identify your patterns, and what it looks like to break these patterns. My name is Methinee and I am an inner work coach. I have opened my coaching business called Inner Love and Harmony, and I help women move from survival driven ways of relating to empowered ways of relating. I have been through my own journey, so I definitely know what you are going through. So, the very first point is, why do we repeat patterns in our relationships? Well, a lot of the times it's how we humans operate. We would do a particular thing, and if we see that it's worked, then we would repeat that same action over and over again, because our brain, if you think about it from an evolution perspective, our brain favors familiarity, it favors predictability. So if you have done a particular action, so if you tend to do things a certain way and you have shown yourself that you are safe by doing it, or that you have been able to survive, and we'll talk about childhood in a little bit. But if you have done certain actions and it has taught you that this is safe, I have survived, then your brain will most likely do that same thing over and over again because it knows that this is a safe pathway. It's kind of like when you're riding a bike in a new country and you take a path. That path, you may see different things along the way, but you were able to survive that path. And so next time you are primed to want to travel that very same path because you have been able to survive by driving that path or riding through that path. So it's very unlikely for you to want to go to a different path in a new country where you don't know if that new path is going to be safe or not. So you prefer to go down the old familiar pathway, even though there may be different pathways available that may even be more beautiful, may be even more scenic, may be even good for you, even more safer for you. But because our brains are primed to seek familiarity, predictability, then it's likely going to want to travel the old same paths. In our relationships, we have developed certain behaviors, certain actions, and certain beliefs from our childhood. So if you think about it, as a child born into this world, when we were a baby, we had no prior knowledge, right? No prior template of what it's like to relate. It's kind of like you've never ridden a bike before, okay? And then you start learning how to relate to people by your experiences as a child, by how your parents related to you, by what you saw, by how you related to other people, what you learned. And those have all become your survival mechanisms, your survival driven ways of relating, because you have been teaching yourself, okay, I am safe if I don't cry too much, or I am safe if I cry a lot as a baby. My parents will come to me and they will respond to me and love me. Or if your parents were not at home a lot of the times and you were left to fend for yourself, then you may have learned that I have to rely on myself. I can't rely on other people. I don't trust other people because they're so inconsistent. So then you learn to fend for yourself, you learn to rely on yourself. And so as adults, you are repeating that very same action. You are still very self-reliant, you don't trust other people, and you just don't want to rely on other people. So these very same behaviors that we have developed in childhood are repeating because one, our brain is like, well, we've been able to survive this way, so I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. And so if you also think about the law of karma, cause and effect, when you do a particular behavior, there is going to be a particular effect. Now, if you're doing that very same behavior, then you're going to get the very same effect, right? You can't expect to have a different outcome if you're repeating the same actions. So this is also why we repeat cycles, because we're doing the same thing. And of course, we're going to get the same cycles unless we break out of that cycle and do something different. So I will touch on this in a little bit. So that's just a very brief introduction as to why patterns repeat. And I hope that this is giving you some sort of insight, or at least some light bulb moments occurring in your mind as to, okay, a lot of it has to do with my childhood, what I have learned, how I have been relating to people. And they're usually survival driven for a reason, because as a child, you don't feel empowered. You don't have sovereignty, right? You don't have autonomy. You don't have authority. So as a child, your primary goals were to survive and to be loved. And for you to survive, you had to depend on your parents. But like I said, it really depends as well on whether your parents were even available, were they responsive, were they consistent. That is really going to determine your attachment style as well. So it really has a huge impact on you, how you were raised. And this is not about blaming our parents. They really did the best that they could. But it's just recognizing that as a child, it does impact us. So I'm going to go into the 3 common patterns that I see in women, myself included. I had these patterns. The very first pattern is the pattern of people pleasing. So people pleasing is when you completely ignore your own needs and you self-sacrifice in order to please other people. You find it really hard to say no. You almost always want to say yes, even though you don't have the capacity to give. For instance, it could be that your partner really wants to do a particular thing and you have no capacity to even do that thing. You're really tired, you're really run down. But instead of honoring where you're at and that you are exhausted and that you need to rest, you just say yes, okay. So you're always saying yes. You find it really hard to set boundaries, and you just constantly think about other people. How can you impress them, please them, make them happy at your expense? And this is the key thing. When you are people pleasing, you are doing it at your own expense. So it's to your detriment. A lot of the times we are sacrificing ourselves in order to meet other people's needs. And this usually comes from our childhood. We have learned as a child, most likely, that we need to ignore our needs in order to please other people, because that has taught us that we are loved that way. People give us love if we please them, if we make them happy. If we ignore our needs and meet theirs, then we receive love, then we are safe. So as an adult, you still have that very same pattern of people pleasing because it has given you a sense of safety. You feel safe pleasing other people. You feel like this is how I'm going to receive love, receive friendship by pleasing other people. So you are doing that very same pattern. So this is going to be prevalent in all of your relationships. It's not just going to be in your romantic relationships. You may even see it with how you relate to your friends, how you relate to your work colleagues, how you relate to your partner, of course, how you relate to your family members, always saying yes, feeling guilty, saying no. The second pattern that I see is the pattern of fixing and rescuing people. So this looks like you jumping in and wanting to help, wanting to overgive, wanting to always overextend yourself, and never really letting the other person do things on their own. And it's not coming from a bad place. You're not doing it because you think that they can't do it. although at a subconscious level, a little bit you are thinking that, but it's coming from a place of let me do this for you, let me fix you, let me save you, and I'll be loved if you need me. And this looks like doing things without people even asking you. You are just automatically jumping in to save them if they have a problem, if they have an issue. Or it could even look something like, I remember when I was with my partner, I would be so tired from work, but I wanted to have a really nice dinner, and instead of asking him to go grocery shopping with me and we can like cook together, I said no, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go to the grocery store by myself. I'm going to find the recipes. I'm going to cook even though I'm so tired. And then by the time I came home and I cooked, it was, a few hours have passed and I'm so exhausted. And I just kept doing this. I kept doing it. It wasn't like a once off thing. I just kept doing it even though I was so exhausted. And instead of asking him for help, instead of asking him for support, or even trying to solve that issue together, maybe we could even go out to eat. Instead of doing that, I just automatically went into my savior mode. I'll save you. Don't worry, I've got us covered. I'm going to cook. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And eventually I just got so exhausted, and it was just an unhealthy way to relate to your partner, because I never really allowed him to save us. And you don't need a partner to save you. It's more about dealing with things together as a team. This need to fix people, to rescue people, again, it comes down to our childhood. We most likely learned as a child that if I am needed, if I can fix people and rescue them, then I'm loved. I'm lovable when I'm needed. I'm safe if I'm needed. And it also could be you felt safe when other people are happy. So if you had a parent who was quite volatile and had emotional outbursts and they weren't able to regulate their emotions, and whenever they're angry or whenever they're sad or whatever the case may be, it made you feel scared as a child. So you learned that, okay, I've got to go and fix this person. I've got to fix my mom or my dad. I've got to make them happy again. Because if they're happy again, then I'm safe. As an adult, you do the very same thing. You still fix people, you still rescue people, because one, it makes you feel safe. You don't like it when people are angry, or if they have an emotional outburst, it makes you feel unsafe. And so it made you behave in a way where you took on that role of saving people so that you can feel safe again. And there's also another element to this. You may have also learned that when you do save people, you feel important. You feel like you matter. You feel that they need you. Because as a child, you didn't feel like you were enough just as you are. And so you learn that I have to save people, I have to be useful, I have to be needed, because then I can be loved. And so in your adult relationships, it's the very same pattern repeating. And so you tend to fix people, you tend to save people, you tend to save your partner, overgive, jump in and help, even though they didn't even ask you. And this was something that I dealt with myself. And then I would grow resentful. And my partner would say to me, but I never asked you to help. I never asked you. And he was right. He never asked me. I just took on that savior role. And so thank God I don't do that anymore. And there is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. You can definitely shift out of this pattern, and I will talk a little bit about this later on in the video. The third pattern that I see is the pattern of losing your sense of self in relationships. So this can look like losing your identity. You're no longer doing the things that you loved when you were single. You're no longer honoring your boundaries, what you actually need and what you're available for. You just are always basically merged with your partner. So whatever they want to do, you'll do. Whatever decisions they want to make, you make that. If they're not happy, then you're not happy. Your mood totally is dependent on how they're feeling. And you lose your sense of self in relationships by not honoring yourself, by not honoring your individuality, your autonomy, that you're a sovereign person. And I see this pattern a lot, especially in young girls, where we're so good when we're single and we're having the best time of our lives and we're just living our life, doing all these things, learning, growing, evolving. But then as soon as we get into a relationship, we tend to no longer do the things that lit us up. We're going along with what the guy wants to do. We're always saying yes to him, and even changing ourselves, changing who we are in order to be that perfect match for him, because it'll make him happy if I'm this way. And it was something that I had to go through also. I changed myself. I am usually a very open, friendly, social person, but in my relationships, because that would trigger the guy, I would then decide that, okay, I'm going to not be as talkative, not be as social. I'm just going to close myself. And I started dressing differently too. I was dressing very conservatively because my ex-partners were quite vocal about not wanting me to dress a certain way. And so I compromised a lot of myself, and I eventually changed myself. I didn't do the things that I used to do. I, love attending events, like social events, spiritual events. And he didn't tell me not to do it, but I was like, no, it's okay. I'm going to spend this time with you, because I deeply craved love. But then eventually, when you are doing all these little things, you're changing yourself, these little actions really do, they really do. It's almost like imagine like a big whole circle. And the moment that you start to change yourself, shift yourself, compromise yourself, it's almost like you're taking a piece of you out from that whole circle. You're taking a piece of you out. And then eventually there's all these holes in that whole circle that you end up thinking, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even know who this person is. I don't even know what I like, what I don't like. I just don't know who I am anymore, because you've changed so much. You've taken all of these pieces of you out in order to stay in that connection, in order to stay in that relationship, and to feel loved. And this comes down to you wanting to feel loved. So you lose your sense of self in relationships because you have most likely learned, again, in childhood, that I need to be all these things, change myself, adapt myself in order to be loved. Like, I can't be loved for who I am. So yes, I'm going to compromise myself. I'm going to do whatever makes this person happy because I want love. And another thing that I would say about this as well is it comes down to also, if you didn't feel safe, right? If you didn't feel safe as a child being you, maybe your parents scolded you for being who you were, and so you lose a sense of that person, because you're like, okay, well, that's not acceptable, so I'm not going to be like that anymore. And then when you're single, you don't really care, right? You're usually yourself, because there's no person there for you to gain love from. Whereas when you get into a relationship, you're like, oh my God, this love feels so amazing. I want to be loved by this person. So you've learned, like, okay, well, I'm okay to change myself, because I've been taught like I'm not acceptable as I am. So I need to change myself. I have to be a certain way in order to be loved. And so this is how losing your sense of self can be showing up in your relationships. There's so many reasons why we do the things that we do, but a lot of it does come from childhood. It can also come from our life experiences to date as well. So you may have been through a really toxic relationship that just took all of your beautiful energy and your sense of security, your self-esteem, and how you are now showing up in your relationships. So if you were to work with me, I would definitely be wanting to hold space for you to allow you to explore all of that, explore your past, and see how things have occurred and what the impact was for you in how you're now showing up in your relationships. Because I find that it's so empowering to know why you are doing the things that you are doing, because this is going to really help you when you are wanting to break out of that pattern, out of that cycle. Then you can, you know the root cause, so then you can give yourself whatever it is that you were missing. So if it was a sense of safety that you were missing, and so that's why you are now repeating this particular behavior, you can give yourself safety, but then do a different action. Teach your brain that, yes, I can do a different action and I'm safe. We can take a different new path and we are safe. So I'll move on to the next part of this video, which is how to identify a pattern and how it's repeating, or whether a pattern is repeating in your relationships. The very first thing that you would want to ask yourself is there a particular theme that keeps on repeating in my relationships? Is there a particular theme that keeps on repeating in my relationships? It could be the same theme repeating with the same person if you're in like a long-term relationship, or if you've been in a couple of relationships and there is a particular theme that is popping up in at least two of those relationships, then that is a pattern. And so asking yourself that question is going to be really beautiful. This is where journaling comes in, and just giving yourself time to allow whatever wants to come out from your subconscious mind. The second question is, where did I learn how to do this? Where did I learn how to do this particular behavior? So if a particular theme is people pleasing, where did this come from? And again, journaling, asking yourself this question and allowing whatever that wants to come out. I love doing pen to paper because it just allows all of your thoughts to come out. You can also write it in your phone as well, or laptop. That's totally fine. I just find that there's something magical when you put pen to paper, and you can even burn that paper later on if you want, and that could even act as a symbol of you burning away an old pattern that you no longer want to repeat. So that's also really beautiful. The third question that you want to be asking yourself is, why did I learn how to do this? So if you have a pattern of people pleasing as well, and you have identified that, yes, this has to do with my childhood, why did you learn how to people please? And again, allow the answers to come to you with no judgment. Just allow whatever wants to come out, and have so much compassion for yourself as you're doing this is so important, because you have been through so much, and your inner child, the younger versions of you, they have been through so much. And I don't ever want you to feel like you did the wrong thing or developed unhealthy patterns. No, you did what you could in order to survive. These are all survival mechanisms. And it has taught you that you are safe by doing things this way. And so they served you for whatever purpose that they were created for. And now, as an adult, please send so much love to those younger versions of yourself, because she did the best that she could. And now it is your responsibility to give so much love to her, and also take your power back and change these patterns. And it's so possible to change your patterns. So that is the next part of this video of what I'll be talking about, is what breaking these patterns will look like. So breaking the pattern of people pleasing, like I said, understanding the root cause of why you people please in the first place is really important. And what is it that you are getting out of people when you're people pleasing is going to be really crucial. And what it looks like when you break out of that pattern is that you will be so comfortable with honoring yourself. You will no longer be pleasing other people to your detriment. You will first tune into yourself, check in with yourself, and ask, do I want to do this? And if it's a no, then you will communicate that with love. What I would say here is that we can, during this healing journey, we can go from one extreme to the other extreme. And I have definitely been through this. I went from people pleasing, saying yes to everybody to my expense. And I went to the other extreme of, I'm going to be so selfish and I'm going to only look out for myself. I don't care what anyone else is going through. I'm protecting me. And when I went to the other extreme, I felt, one, it didn't align with my inner value, because I really value helping people. I really value being there for people. I really value cooperating with people, collaborating, connection, teamwork. And so when I checked in with my own inner compass of, no, I really value being there for people when I can, not when I can't be, right? To my expense. No, we're not doing that anymore. Now I check in with myself. Do I have capacity to give to this person? And I also love to stick to my word. So if I tell a friend that I'm going to be there, sometimes I may be a little bit tired, but I will still stick to my word and I'll be there. Other times though, if I've said I'm going to be there and I'm really just feeling exhausted, then I will honor myself. So it's just really having a balance between checking in with yourself, like how are you feeling, but then also honoring your friend or your partner. Like, can I be there for this person right now? Do I have the capacity to give? Is this in line with my value, right? What does my promises look like? And I do believe as well, it's okay to break a promise if it's not a special occasion and you're really unable to make it. Then you don't want to be so rigid with yourself and saying yes to your detriment. That is not what we're going to be doing anymore. We're going to be honoring ourselves while honoring other people as well. So what does it look like to break the pattern of saving people? This looks like you being supportive, being nurturing, and believing in other people and validating them. So if somebody comes to you with an issue or if there is a problem, and instead of you jumping in to save them and be like, oh, how can I fix this for you? How can I find the resources for you? How can I notice myself doing this too. And so you pause and you validate their experience and be like, you know what you're going through is so challenging. I believe that you can totally get through it. You can get through it. I know you can. You've got this. And if there is something that you believe you can help them with, say a little idea pops up, it's okay for you to share an idea of how they can help themselves, but let them be the ones to help themselves. Let them be the ones to take physical actions to help themselves. So you see how you're no longer saving, you're no longer rescuing, you are actually standing in your own power and seeing them in their own power too. This is the thing as well, is when I was constantly saving my ex-partners, I wasn't seeing them in their power. I wasn't seeing them as competent. And they didn't see themselves as competent because I was not seeing that for them. And the moment that I stepped back and I stopped saving, you know, just the most magical things have happened for them. The universe has moved things to help them, to move them to a better path. And that would have never happened if I kept rescuing them. And so this is really you pausing, supporting them, helping them, validating them, but helping again in the sense of sharing ideas, but letting them do the work. Okay. The third pattern that we were talking about and what it looks like to break the pattern of losing your sense of self in relationships. This looks like you maintaining your sense of self in relationships. You are honoring what you want, what you need, what your desires are. You are communicating that. You are setting good boundaries. You are still maintaining your hobbies, your interests, whatever's important to you. But you know so well who you are, and you're not going to let anybody change you. You are just so in love with this authentic version of you that if somebody says, you know what, I don't like the way you dress, or I don't want you talking to this person, you can say, I love dressing this way, and this is how I'm going to continue dressing. If they say, I don't want you to talk to this person, you can say, I really value being able to connect with people and talk to people. I respect you. I respect our relationship. And I will never do anything that is going to disrespect that. But I value being able to talk to people. And if you cannot allow me the freedom to be myself, then this is not an aligned connection, and walk away. So that is what I have for you today, ladies. I really hope that it has given you a lot of insight into why you keep attracting the same man but in different bodies, and how to stop. If you would like further support, I have my link in the description box below. Please feel free to contact me. I'll also include my Instagram as well. My DMs are open, and so I would love to hear from you and be able to support you further on your journey. Thank you so much, ladies, for tuning in, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye for now.